Do you want to learn how to build this, but don't know how? Follow me along on this journey.
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Emily.
And this is our dog, Nash.
Together we started our own business called the Silver Nash Workshop. We build custom ordered wood projects for customers all over the U.S.
I build the projects.
And I build the business.
Follow us on our journey of starting our business while working full-time jobs.
And being in law school.
I start off by cutting the legs for the footboard and the headboard. After I have everything measured, I cut off the end that comes from the store. Knowing that my miter saw is nice and square, I know this gives me a good base to start with. After this, I write down the length of each board so when I come back to them, I know which board is which when it comes time to put everything together. One of the first tools that I was able to purchase when I purchased the shop was this planer. I'm extremely happy with it. I know a lot of shops aren't able to have something like this, but this helps me out tremendously. It makes the boards nice and square, and it also helps with the sanding process. My next step is to look at the boards. These are 2x4s. They're made for, studs, everything like that. So a lot of them are actually in pretty poor condition, even after they're planed. So what I do is I go through and check which ones I want to use. That's going to be exposed for people to see. So that's what I'm doing is I'm Xing the ones where they're going to be flattened together, so no one's going to see that. And as you can see on this board, the edges are pretty rough. I'll probably run that through the planer one last time. You can never have too many clamps, and in this case I was fortunate to get a lot of my clamps and a lot of my tools from my grandpa and my girlfriend's grandpa. So we go ahead and we glue up the two 2x4s. Two 2x4s are going to make up the one post for the bed. So I spread the glue. I almost forgot. One little trick that I like to do is I like to sprinkle a little sawdust in between the two boards. This allows the board not to shimmy and move when I put it together and try to nail it down. As I'm doing this with the clamps, I'm not squeezing terribly tight. When you squeeze pretty tight, you'll start leaving dents in the wood, and you don't want that. So I'd go nice and just kind of firm. So now I'm using my 16 gauge finish nailer, and in that I'm using 2.5 inch finish nails. This just holds it in place while the glue dries. And now we'll repeat the steps for the other 3 bed posts.
So now that we got our footboard legs and our headboard legs all glued up and nailed together, what we'll end up doing is we're going to turn around, we're going to go ahead and we're going to measure and cut the plywood, the 3/4 inch plywood that's going to go on these for the headboards. So I've got my headboard all set here. What I'm going to do is my finished product, what it's going to be is going to be about 57 inches long, the full size bed. So I'm take the 3.5 from each leg for the headboard, subtract that off the 57, that gives me 50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this with my circular saw down to 50. It makes it a little bit more easier to deal with, just because it's a bigger slab of wood here. So we'll go ahead and do that. be a lot easier with a track saw, but I can't afford that, so I worked with what I got. I think this was like 13 bucks at Harbor Freight. I bought that from a garage sale, so can't really complain with what I got. It works pretty well. So one thing that I should have did here, and I wish I would have, I wish I would have taped that. It just gives it a cleaner look. It doesn't fray out like that. It probably doesn't help that, you know, that circular saw is probably not meant to do something this large, but like I said, it's what I got, it's what I can work with, and it's a cheap blade on there. So again, you can see what I've done is I've taped it this time. And that's supposed to help me keep the frizzies off the side there. So we'll see if this actually works. I've done it on other projects, it seems to work. This isn't tape, but we'll see. So now we're left with a finished product, and if we look, can't see any splinters where it actually pulled anything off. I can run my finger almost all the way down it. So the tape definitely works, as you can tell. This versus that looks 100% better. And even on the back side, it feels really, really smooth. So just a helpful trick. So now that we got it cut, what we're gonna do is I attached it to my Craig jig here, as you can see. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put holes on the ends or on the sides, and this is where the legs for the actual headboard are gonna actually screw into. I also looked at the sides. I wanted to make sure, you know, this side's gonna be the one that's hidden. So as you can see, that spot where we tore everything up when we sawed it there, that's what we're gonna actually use to hide. The other side looks really, really good where we put the tape, so we'll stick with that. We'll go ahead and start drilling these holes. There's no real, you know, explanation as to how many holes you actually need. You could probably figure it out, but I just kind of go every 6-7 feet, put a hole, just because that headboard is going to be this is going to be supported by those 2x4s. It also kind of ties the bed together structurally. So like I said, 5, 6, 7 feet or inches is what I generally go. So I got everything set, 3/4 here, 3/4 on my actual drill bit, nice and secure. So we'll go ahead and start drilling these.
I'm super fortunate to have a Craig jig, and I absolutely love using it. The problem with it is it just takes, it seems like for me, a long time. They do have the automatic Craig jigs, but those things are also super expensive. So I just stick with what I got, and it works pretty well.
So now comes the fun part of any build, and this is what the customer wants right here. The bed is 57. They want these, but they want this white. So this is the fun part, is I get to cut these boards and actually make what they're thinking actually come true. So we'll go ahead and start that. We'll start by ripping down some 1x12s and get those ready to go for these crosses, these center pieces and end pieces, and this top and bottom piece. So we'll go ahead and start that right now.
I always do my first cut a little bit wider than 3.5 inches. What this does is allows me to cut off the edge of that board that may have got damaged while sitting on the shelf of the store or shipping. So right now I'm doing a little bit over 3.5. It's more like 3 5/8. After I do my first initial cut, I do move the fence back to 3.5 inches, and I run that same board through with the cut side facing the fence. Like I said, this will take that edge off of that board and give me a nice crisp straight line. After the first cut, I then use that same board and bring it back and run it right through the table saw again. I can usually get about 3 boards, 1x4s out of a 1x12.
So we're gonna have to make an opposite cut, an opposite 45 on this side, which I could just flip over, but I just end up just going like this. It's a lot easier for me. That's a perfect fit right there. When I do these projects, I get a lot of questions, how do you find your angles on something like this? And really, there's probably a method to doing it. I like to just take it, and what I'll do is I will put this right where it's at, and I will put a line right there, or a line on this side, where this board meets this board on each side. So that kind of gives me a rough idea. So what I will do, I'll take that to my miter saw, and I will actually cut that angle, and that kind of gives me an idea what angle I need for the entire project. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. So my angle ended up being 34.5. I'll take this up here and I'll just put it here, see if it looks right, and it still looks like it's going to be a little bit off. And it looks like this just needs to come. So I need to shave just a little bit on this side right here, which is just fine-tuning your degree at that point. So I'll get that cut. Give this one a try. Looks a lot better. Right there. Which I can live with that. That looks really good. So now we'll come over to this side and do the same thing, but we're going to use that angle. So this kind of gives us a really good idea of where to cut. And you know that this one ends right here. So if you can see what I'm talking about, what I ended up doing was marking. There it is. You can see I marked it where this board meets this perimeter here. I do like to put a little mark like this on it. It just kind of gives me a better idea of where that line actually is when I take it to my miter saw. So I got the X all done. I got this one, and then I separated these two to put this in, so I'll go ahead and glue it up and tack it in. Make sure I got all the pieces where I want them. pretty good to me right there. So I'll go ahead and just give it a nice tack. Perfect. So what I ended up doing was I ended up finishing the other side here. As you can see, it looks pretty good. Glued and tacked it just like the other side here, what I did on this side. So what I'll probably do now is I'm gonna go ahead and fill it with this wood filler from Elmer's. This stuff works really good on this pine. It's easy to sand and it dries really quick. So we'll go ahead and put that on right now. So last night you guys didn't get to see me finish this up. So what I ended up doing was putting that paste or that wood filler in on all the cracks, like right here, the corners, all the way around, brad nail holes, all that good stuff. I apologize you guys didn't get to see how awesome that was, but that's just how it goes when you're using GoPro with small battery lives. So now that that's dried and it's been dry for a day, we're gonna go ahead and give it a good sand. I'm gonna start off with 120 grit sandpaper. Go from there. Safety first. So what we did, we started with 80 grit and then we moved to 120 grit. I'm gonna leave it right there because I still want to throw some more putty or wood filler in some of these cracks. I think it looks pretty good though, but there's just some cracks that I want to fill in just to, give it that extra love it, I guess. But while we're here, I'd like to ask you guys to subscribe to my channel if you guys like what you see, and hit that like button, hammer the like button. And yeah, new content. I'm gonna try every couple weeks get new content out. I work full time, travel a lot for work, and I do this only at night for a couple hours when my girlfriend's studying for law school. So try to get as much as I can done, but it does get a little rough trying to get everything done that I need to. But like I said, if you like what you see, hit the like button and subscribe, please.